Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, this big Anderson flat with the ficus in it, well, we got to do something with it. Welcome to Bonsai Acres. Welcome everyone into the plant room on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. We're already in the 40s Fahrenheit outside, but this is a big project and I have to do it inside. So we're doing it earlier in the morning so we can get outside maybe a little bit this afternoon, plus a basketball game to go to, final one of the season for the traveling basketball, and then we'll be done. So we're gonna get it out of this pot and we were gonna put it into another pot. So here's what I'm thinking. Worst case scenario, I'm going to put it in this beautiful colander that I got. Beautiful aeration in there. We'll get it in there because I think it'll fit. It's about as big as this, just a little bit tighter. If I could squeeze it into a pot, these are my two options. So we're going to see if that will work. My assumption is, based on this big gnarly root system here, that this is going to be the best option. And it's about as deep, almost exactly. So we're going to dig into this thing and repot it. So as I dig into this pot, some of you may be asking, Dave, why are you repotting this in March? It's a tropical tree. Well, remember, I have a plant room in here that's temperature regulated. I'm going to have my room here at 70 during the day, maybe even up to 75 here in the next couple of weeks. And before I bring it out to the PSGF. Ooh, look at that. That thing was just sitting on top of this, and that was my fear, which is part of the reason why I'm repotting this. It's been growing fine, but it's been growing fine based on really not a ton of root structure. It was in kind of more of a dirt soil, less bonsai soil, and I think this has had some issues, and so we're going to hopefully fix some of those issues. Now, it's a tropical tree, so to have a nice warm aftercare, that would be wonderful. And back to my original statement, why now? Well, because I can provide some good aftercare here in the plant room. So there's not a ton of fine feeder roots on this. So this is all about almost like a giant cutting, if you will. With a lot of our trees, we can go ahead and cut off a lot of the roots and it's going to be fine. Certain species of trees. Now, we might be talking a Japanese or trident maple, especially the tridents. You can cut off almost every root and it's going to grow new roots from the bottom of where you cut it off. So we're going to get rid of this kind of real thick, kind of more dirt substrate, because I just put a little bit of my recycled bonsai soil on top, and it's really dirty, and it's just one big conglomerate of bigger roots and not very many fine feeder roots. So we're going to go ahead and get this into this basket here and see if we can revive this tree and let it start really growing in earnest. I didn't think this would take that long, and I was certainly right. We are almost done with this, and we can almost dunk this in a big old bucket of water and give it a good wash. Here we have an old root here that's just kind of mush, broke right off. I think that's going to happen a couple of times today. So I got my bin full of water here, giving it a little bit of a rinse job. And I want to reiterate that this is a little bit of a risky job for me today, right? This is risky because it's not summertime in Minnesota, and this is going to be plant room artificial light and heat in here, and not the beautiful sunshine, right? And so I just have to make sure I'm very careful and not, working this thing too terribly hard. Of course, then I say that and I always cut things off. And again, the trees are resilient, and these tropical trees can be cut down, especially the Narrow Leaf Ficus here. This is a Narrow Leaf Ficus. You can do some pretty extensive root pruning with this guy, and it's going to rebound pretty great. If you want to see some very good videos on the Narrow Leaf Ficus and how much you can work on them, go check out Eric Schrader at Bonsai. Eric Schrader's videos are very top-notch. I love watching his stuff, And he does some work with some narrow leaf ficuses, and you can get a sense of how much you can cut these things up. And as you can see, they get these really big bulbousy kind of roots in here. You can get some really big roots on these trees. And so you have to kind of keep on top of them. So this tree was donated to me from that guy, my friend from the Minnesota Bonsai Society that moved on to Australia. I hope he's watching the channel. He can see the progress of some of his trees. I've sold a couple of trees for him, and we might sell this one for him in a couple of years as well. Or if he comes back, maybe he can repossess this tree. So I'm kind of the caretaker right now. So we're going to move this aside, and we're going to see about what roots we might cut off. So right now, this doesn't fit into this at all, which means it's not going to fit into those back up there. So we will have to make some cuts, and I assumed I'd be making some cuts. And so let's talk about those right now and see what we got for working on this tree. Now, I don't know the future of this tree and if it'll be a multi-clump or not. As you can see, I left all this alone, and this is all new growth since I've had it last summer. End of the summer, this was not even here. Now this one's growing out this way. I don't think we want that one. We could curve it up, we could leave it for a curve up, but I just don't like that angle. I'm going to take that one branch off. So now we have this triple trunk, if you will. This one's growing straight up, and this has got a nice lean to it, but it is growing up. So if I cut this branch down here, we have a tree that's kind of growing upwards, which is kind of nice. And so we're going to leave all that for the future design of this tree and just see what happens. And now let's take a look at this root structure, because it is messy and it's a little bit all over the place. You see this root structure here, not much down below, and it's kind of weak up top. We're going to go ahead and we're going to cut this one off as deep in there as we can get with my little concave, at least right there. So right here, there we go. So we're just cutting that little bit of roots out there. But I think that'll clean that up real nice. Let me get my glasses off here and see if we can go ahead and get in there. There's another branch root coming up that had nothing on it. We just want to get in there as low as we can to start the healing process. There we go. And that'll smooth out a lot more. Okay, so that was kind of an ugly root growing up. We didn't want that. Look, there's even a tree trying to grow right down here in this crack. Right there. So this thing has energy. It's shooting up new branches, and so it's plenty healthy for me to do this right now. So let's look at this root right here. Now this is preventing us from putting it in the pot right here, and so we have two roots down below that are really in a much better spot for a nice flow. So if I cut that off, there we go. If we cut that root off, now there is some fine feeder roots there, but again, narrow leaf ficus, we're going to be okay. And now look at these roots going down that direction. And because there's no fine feeders there, we can go ahead and cut this one here, cut this one here, and now that can fit in the pot and grow new roots from there. We got it splitting down to two, just like when we have ramification on the top. Now let me go ahead and clean that off a little bit. We don't want bulges in our roots necessarily, although it can give it a lot of character. And that will heal over in time. And again, this might be the front of the tree. We may not even see that backside. This could be the front of the tree with this curve. Now you can see once I made this last chop here in my plant room, here's the chop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 branches right there. That's how ferociously your narrow leaf ficus can grow. But look at right here, everybody. That's already reverse taper. That's going to be a mess. So this whole thing will come off. I can maybe air layer this and have a tree already ready to take shape. Or this might be thin enough for a cutting. I could try this as a cutting. I don't know if I'll air layer this or not. But I do know that this branch is so inside here. This is so inside here. Let's just take that off for right now and leave more energy for these outside branches. And these branches I'm not so worried about right now because, again, for this tree to become a nice tree someday, that's a lot of tree without something going on. And this was a big wound earlier. If I cut all this off right here today, we could have all kinds of growth back here, just like this did. Here's all the green. We cut all this energy off. It's going to push it all down here. But we're going to leave that cut until right before the summer push outside. And so we can have a lot of energy, a lot of warmth, and the aftercare I'm not going to be so worried about being in my plant room. It'll have full sun, a lot of heat, and we'll make things look lovely. So now we have some roots that are going every which way, so let us continue that path. Here's the one I cut. We have one down below that you can't see and two out here. We'll leave that for now. This one is a little wide. We'll cut that off so we can fit into our... So already we're closer to fitting in except for this back guy right here. So we're gonna have to consider that one. But before we do that one, you see how this one comes down and goes over both that way and that way? This is starting to cross these roots. So I'm gonna take that off right there. I don't want these crossing those roots right there. I like this curve down below here. If we get rid of this one right here, we'll see if that can continue to grow in the new soil. We just clean that up a little bit. There we go. And I might not even keep that long term. And this is getting kind of weak down here. So let's just cut it. And let's see if that touches the soil and gives us some new roots. But you can see this is the root plane down here. Look at all those fine feeder roots right there. That's what we're hoping for the future of this tree. Now this root, little tiny one, is going a really weird direction. We're going to take that out as well. You know what? I so don't even like that. I want to see the lower roots, and I'm going to go ahead and go back and make the decision to cut it right there. Now that root is not even part of the design. It goes off to the right, and we'll leave it there for now. There we go. So it kind of exposes this big, massive trunk system, but it makes you see this bulge right about here, but that's where this new tree is growing, so we'll see. We'll see what happens there in the near future. We're going to cut this one a little bit shorter. So that's that side. We might even someday want to take this root for these roots out here, but I don't know how much I want to cut into those right now. Again, because of the time of year, and even though I say these are hardy trees that you can do a lot of stuff to, I want to be a little careful. So I have a root right here that's a little bit soft and mushy down here, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it back to see how far the mush goes. Okay, that was solid right there. So we might get some new roots right there and not have that so watery log. That was sitting at the, and that's still dead right there. Let's cut it off. Let's cut that off and let other roots grow in there. So now we have a little nub right here. Let me see if I can clean that nub. This one is not completely attached to it. There we go. That's a lot smoother in there now. So that may die back a little bit. We'll see if we can get that even cleaned up more in time. So that's gone. That was kind of going here. We got this big root right here. We might even take that one off today because that's the last one that's really big and long, and so is this guy right here. So in order to fit into our pots, these are in the way. Everything else is growing down and looking pretty nice. Let's cut this one off. There we go. And now the only thing keeping it from in here is that one root. So we just carefully cut that back there, but maybe we need to cut this right here. Here we go. We cut that big knobby, and now we can get a subdivision of roots right there that might flow out this way. And I don't yet know how buried this structure will be. We have some thin roots right above where I just cut there. There's a whole bunch of thin roots right here, so that was a good place to cut. Make our little flat zones right about there. Try to get them the same all the way around the tree. We're going to leave some of these fine feeder roots because I like them. Let's look underneath the tree here. So this is right under the tree. I'm going to cut that off. This is right under the tree. And this one. And that one. This one as well. It's kind of under the tree, as is that one. So now we have more roots growing outwards and not straight down for the next root prune a couple of years from now. Just Right here, I think I want to make a little bit shorter. Yeah, see, that root was in pretty rough shape right there. So we're going to go ahead and get that even further down. Yeah, that one was in tough shape. We're going to cut that one off. Here you go. That one is in really rough shape, about halfway up that root. So we just cut that off to expose even more of the root structure down below on this one side. So we got rid of this big one and this big one. Now we can see all this root, and this is the nabari kind of in the root plane down here, and all these roots over time might mesh together and make this fun, really gnarly tree. We will see. Trying to clean out some of the structure. I've got a really curly root in here that's wrapped around and not doing a whole lot. I want that one gone too. So now we have all these roots going straight down, and lo and behold, look what we can do, everybody. It sits in the pot beautifully, and we want it to be a little bit higher to expose some of the roots. So we can put this, we can even put it at an angle now. So we have this curve this way, and then we can have maybe some branches growing that way in time. Or we could curve it this way and have these catch up to this one. If we do that, we might want to cut some of the bottoms of those a little bit more up. Either way, it'll fit in here. And just for the heck of it, let's go ahead and grab one of these pots and see how close we are. Oh, look at that, everybody. Now we can do this. This will fit in this pot, a beautiful blue glazed pot, and the roots will be nicely exposed, and there's room for it to grow. And since the nabari is kind of this part of the bottom trunk of the tree is kind of where we want it, although we would love this tree to be thicker, this is something to look at already, right? And it's got a big old gnarly root section to this tree, and we can just put this in this beautiful pot and not have a pond basket. I think we might do that. The pond basket is certainly good for growth. A lot of people use boxes and pond baskets, and then the air circulates much better in the pond baskets, and it helps to ramify those roots. This won't breathe quite as nice, but it'll be a tree in a pot already, and it'll look like more like a bonsai for people to get that future vision, hopefully. So I think we might leave it just like that and put that as the pot. I see some more kind of dirt in there. We're going to try to get rid of some more of that. Oh, and there's a tangled root right there. That'll lay flatter. We'll get some more growth growing out, hopefully, on that. There we go. We got a little bit of dirt there still. A little surprise. We really don't want the dirt and broken down soil. We want some more bonsai soil that's going to take over this tree. All right, there we go. Well, I'm going to prepare the pot, give this one more rinse, and I think we should pot this thing up. I don't often wire a lot of my tropical trees in anymore, but because this one is so top heavy and it has so little fine roots but has a lot of the big knobby roots on here, I want to make sure that this one stays nice and snug in this pot. So I have one wire from this pot right in the middle that's going to allow us to wrap this thing together underneath this root right here, so we won't even see the wire that much, and we'll be in good shape. Let's get ourselves some bigs on the bottom. And which way do I want to look at this tree? The nice thing about oval pots, of course, is this could be the front, or that can be the front. Now, we typically like our trees to kind of lean towards us, not away, so this is going away from you right now, but coming towards me, so I have to make a decision. Which way did I want this one to sit in this pot? Maybe this way a little bit more, because we got this side over here leaning this way, and then this good old secondary tree down here. This is a great father-daughter, father-son, mother-son, mother-daughter. Take this one away. We'll see as these grow up what we want to do and how these root structures go. I think this is a little bit more inviting of a front because it's smoother this way, whereas this one kind of has this cliff right here and kind of caves down. Here's an old cut point right here with a wound. I probably can open that up and maybe cut it down and dwindle it down even more, and maybe add some more cut paste to get that knob away. So why don't I go ahead and do that right away. That was a tree. at one point. That was a branch on here. Pretty thick one too. Not sure why it came off. It really didn't have much to it when I got it. So now we have that smoother design right there. Look, it flows down that way a little bit more. So we can cut paste that up if we need to, which we probably will. All right, you know, I think no matter where this is in the pot, this is a decent place regardless, because this just needs 2 years to grow outside in my backyard and see what kind of new roots we can grow. Now, the only thing I'm contemplating is this guy right here that we left on, and it's just floating in the air right here. It will probably grow new roots, but I'm wondering if it should just come out all together and let us see that branch more. And so I'm going to go for the gusto there, and I'm going to cut that one off. I don't think I need that root. And so with that root gone, we got to cut it down a little bit further all the way down here. And let me kind of pinch this off a little bit cleaner, a little bit closer to the top. It's where I just cut that other wound off. And so it's not supplying that tree per se, that branch. So that root is gone. So from that front angle, then again, we smoothed out this clump. We got rid of this knobby kind of root going up this way. We're gonna let these all take over for this root right there. And from the back side, you can't even really tell, but there's a little bit less bump here, so it highlights this tree a little bit better. I think we're gonna leave it right there. Let's get this thing tucked in here. This is where a number 2 wire for aluminum is gonna be really nice, because I have the flexibility of bringing it in there. I can bring my pliers and kind of help me force it through, go underneath that section. Now I'm gonna go underneath this guy right here. And now that wire is underneath almost all of that where I want it. Good. Put that right here. I think right there is the magic. Let's pull it up a couple of times and twist it tighter. Goes down right there. Super tiny right there, and we can lift this right up here. It's a little bit loose, so let's go one. Now I think we're fine. I think the soil in there is going to make it just lovely. Making a mess in the plant room, and I'm loving every second of it. All right, so now there's definitely some holes in here because of all these gnarly octopus-shaped roots. We got the fines on top. Again, the fines are going to keep it moist on top a little bit more than down below. And we're going to see if we can kind of improve this root plane to be a little bit higher or towards the bottom where it is now, but just more of those fine feeder roots. And we've got the bigs on the bottom for a good drainage layer. And we're going to have a nice medium to small layer here where we can go ahead and get some more of that root development. And there's a lot of holes in this guy, remember, so we're definitely wiggling around and tamping this guy down with some serious tamping going on. This is mixing some of the bigs or the mediums with the small as well, so we can have a couple of different root growth down there, filling in where we need to fill in. And then when we water this, it's going to be. So there we have, remember, that was in a box this big, Anderson flat, with hardly any, it was probably 75 to 80% soil and only 20% roots in there. And now we've put it into this nice blue pot. Will take up less space in my plant room. And now we have this gnarly root structure here that's exposed, and we'll see where it goes in the future. This is almost kind of like, this is a big old dinosaur with the long neck dinosaur, and you got the legs down here and the body. For those people that see things in clouds and everything, there you go. We got a tail back here. And again, imagine that this is going to be gone, and then this is going to be our tree down here, and it's going to start to grow up. We might even have more trees grow up and have a really cool clump-style bonsai someday, but of course, that'll take long for these to thicken up. But these were not here at the start of this winter. We cut all this off. We had this, I believe, and maybe a little sprig, and this one's already on its way to being closer to pencil thick. Chopstick thick right about now, and it's going to be fun to see where this goes. So as I give it its water, a reminder, we put trees in bigger pots so it can really get those really thick trunks going on. But this was in such a big Anderson flat and not a lot of really good soil in the end. And so the roots kind of stopped at the end of these really big, knobby roots, and we didn't have a lot of fine feeder roots. I hope now this operation is going to give it all kinds of really nice fine feeder roots to continue to grow the tree. And now we have it in a bonsai pot. And so it looks a little more bonsai-like, and we have this thick, gnarly bottom. So we're in good shape to have a really nice thick base. And this still could be a Shohin tree, everybody. We can keep this under 8 inches from here down, and this could be a magnificent, gnarly bottom with a couple of really cool Shohin multi-clump style. Oh my gosh, it could be really fun. Time will tell. Let's move it off of here and 360 it for you one last time. Another reminder for everybody as we get the final spin here of this fun new tree with the octopus legs, and who knows what it'll look like 4 or 5 years from now. This was a new tree to me again last year. And so I had no idea the root structure. I had no idea what we had to work with. So this was a needed repot. And should I have done it last year? Probably would have been a better time to do it in the end of summer. But now I did it here in the plant room. It'll sit in here for another month for sure, then maybe the PSGF, and then outside, and it'll just have chance to just take off. So we're gonna go ahead and bring it back to its spot in here, and let's 360 it for you right now. We have this interesting tree with all these reaching out roots. Look at that look right here. Boom, boom, and there's a little hollowness under there, exposed roots. Those might get thicker and kind of go away in time. And then you've got this big, thick trunk right back here that's real solid, right? And so we've cut a few roots off. We've expanded this thing into hopefully a whole new direction. And this is gonna be really kind of fun. It's just a funky looking tree right now. And as we let it sit outside this summer, I'm excited where it could go. Fun times. Don't forget about the expo, everybody. We're going to have a couple of some shows in the near future talking more about the Bonsai Expo. It's going to be broadcasting live on July the 26th of 2025 here. Got a whole bunch of people lined up to interview and talk about pots and talk about trees and talk about all kinds of stuff. Greenhouses. We've got the one and only Nigel Saunders as our premier hobbyist. Our YouTube content providers, one of our best known YouTubers, going to be our featured keynote presenter. And then our professional presenter for this expo is going to be the one and only Jonas Dupuis. He's graciously offered up some of his time. How that'll parse out, we'll see. We'll see if he can join us live on the 26th for your Q&A. Otherwise, I'll Q&A him. And we've got some giveaways to do. All kinds of fun stuff. So if you want to be a part of the expo, showcase your channel, or just your favorite tree, email me sooner than later so I can keep organizing this massive event, bonsaiacres@gmail.com, and we'll get you part of the show. You can make a little 5 to 10 minute video for me to highlight your channel. I'll have some questions for you to talk about if you don't know what to do on your own. If you just have an idea, something you want to premiere on the 26th, go for it. Otherwise, as the trees leaf out this spring and summer, take a great picture, show me that, tell me about the tree, tell me about its story, and we're going to have a really fun time on the 26th just talking bonsai with all our friends. Until then, email me, bonsaiacres@gmail.com, or we'll take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we will see you very soon on the very next one. Welcome to Bonsai Acres.